Wonderful. Thank you for being here for this lecture for art editor for spring 2022. We have Can, who is the art editor for issue 28, and Ashley, who will be art editor for issue 29. So the section editors, art, fiction, nonfiction, and poetry, all four of the section editors are the people who review the submissions and help make decisions about what's going to appear in the issue. And in the art section, we publish 5 artists an issue. And another very important part of being art editor is finding something that works for the cover image and designing the cover. So we accept submissions so this document is the section editor instructions, and it's shared by art, poetry, fiction, nonfiction. It's the only instructions that are shared because all of the other 6 roles are individual roles, whereas the section editors are all using some of the same systems. So this document is a living document, which means that you will update it as tasks change and as workflow changes and as technology updates. We did a big update to it this semester. We applied a template to it to make it a little jazzier, and we also added this table of contents so that it's super easy for you to navigate. There's also a table on this side too. So if you ever have any questions, you come back to this instruction sheet. So the tasks for section editors, you're gonna have access to Submittable, which is the tool that we use to collect submissions and review them. And I'll send you an email to your ASU account, and you do have to log on through the ASU single sign-on. And we'll be accepting submissions during the month of January. Before then, you can do a lot of pre-work by studying the past issues of SR and kind of look at the types of art we've published in the past. You can always also read other literary magazines and look at who they're publishing. Art is our lowest area of submissions, although we had so many. We were so lucky this semester. We had what, like 83 or
something like that. I don't remember the exact number.
Yeah, I don't either. We had a good bit though, more than we had before. So this semester we ended up getting, did we get all 5 from submissions?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, great. And in the past, we've gotten all 5 from solicitations. It really depends on what we get in Submittable. Sometimes we do solicit, and we'll talk to you about that process as well. When we are in the submissions period, you're going to vote and note on submissions. We have 7 meetings on the calendar. I sent you an invite for those. The first meeting is going to be January 14th at 3 p.m. Our recurring meetings are going to be 3 p.m. on Fridays. And we'll meet for 7 weeks. I find that meeting for half of the semester at the beginning gives you enough enough coverage. After the pages have been designed by the web designer, you're going to copy edit your section. You'll also then curate some content for blog posts. You're going to compose a short editor's note that will appear on the About page and that you'll read at the launch party. So you'll give a short presentation at the launch party, which really just means reading the note. You'll update weekly tasks in a spreadsheet, compose a weekly status report, read and update these instructions as needed. And then your last task of the semester is going to be to tape a lecture for the next art editor. And we have as soon as we're finished taping this lecture, I'll put the link here and I'll also email it to you. So that's the general overview of the tasks that you have. So let's break it all down. One of the things I recommend is that you create a folder where you bookmark all 6 of these pages, because these are the things that you're going to be using pretty much when you log on for Superstition Review. Can, do you want to talk a little bit about these documents and how you interacted with them?
Yeah, sure. So the editor instructions is this document. Um, do you know, Trish, when you'll be sharing like all the access with Ashley?
Yeah, right after this lecture.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah, so then you can go in naturally and like kind of explore all the links. Submittable is where you look at all the submissions and vote yes, no, or maybe. Then you write notes on the ones that are maybes and yeses to kind of give Trish and the faculty advisor, um, you know, your reasoning why you chose yes or maybe on certain submissions. And you can also write, if you're not sure whether the submission is right for the issue, then you could also write in your concerns. Then the Superstition Archives page is just a list of all of our past issues so that you can review, the past art submissions that we've selected, the covers. You can look through that to see how we did the covers in the past. And you could also, on SR, there's the blog page where you can look up previous blogs and you start writing those. And then next, the acceptance spreadsheet. That's just where we record all the submissions that we officially accepted for the issue. So there'll be 5 for art, and you can see everyone else's acceptances too. The launch party program agenda is where you'll see the poster for the launch party, and then you'll post your editor's note here too that you're going to read at the event. And then lastly, the workflow, you'll update this every week. It's just writing down like the tasks you got done that week. And there'll probably be, I don't know if you're keeping the old notes, Trish, like you did this year or not. Okay.
I think what I'll do is just, I have it built so that I don't have the notes in it, but if you want to copy Can's notes to start from, you can take them from that tab. I'm just going to keep our tab empty because I think it works better if you have to fill it in, because
yeah, I think so too. Because when I started, I thought that I was supposed to follow the tasks that were already on there. So, so yeah, you can look at my previous notes if you want to give you an idea what you can do during like each week. But really, you just put in what you are doing for each week. And then you kind of use this to fill out the intern report that you'll turn in every week for Trish as well. So yeah.
Great, thank you for that. So I have here also the editorial timeline. So again, submissions close January 31st. We'll vote and note and discuss throughout January, but also into February. We'll have final editorial decisions. My guess is we'll have them well before March 31st, especially because we have spring break. So we'll probably have them before we go to spring break would be the good goal. And then after that, in March and April, you'll be working on your editor's note, any blog posts you want to do, and the taping this lecture, and also what's one thing I'm forgetting? Anyway, it's in here. So let's talk about voting and noting. So each week while we're reading, you're going to view the art, and you will be putting a vote on it. And Submittable has done something fun, which is completely change its format. And so what you're going to see, I don't even know, Can, if you've seen this yet, but when you filter and look at art, everything's archived right now, but when we start accepting pieces, they'll be live. So you'll be able to see all of the art that we've ever received, 970 submissions over the last many years. The main page, you're going to see a score, which basically adds up all of the yes, no, maybe votes. The submission title, author, and the status and the date. So it's really intuitive. If you click on the menu item, you'll get to see, it will sort. So you'll be able to start with the oldest that have come in, and we always read the oldest ones, or we always look at the oldest ones first. And then when you hop into the back end of the submission, one of the things that has changed is we used to be able to see the work right here. And now you will need to look at it a different way. So let's see. Yeah, you're gonna have to scroll through the pieces this way, which is not my favorite, but we used to be able to see them all at once.
Yeah.
The rating has changed too. So it's going to be a thumbs up, a maybe, or a thumbs down.
Yeah.
And then when you go to write a note, that you'll see that under activity. And Submittable is pretty easy to use. Can, do you have any comments on what it was like to interface with Submittable?
Well, the first time I used it, after you vote on a submission, it will disappear, probably because of the filter settings. So just in case, if you go in and you start voting and things start disappearing, it's because the filters are set to like show the ones that are unrated or something like that.
Yes.
So if anything happens to the list, just go through the filters and try different things and it'll all show up.
That's right. You'll recover it. You can't break anything.
Yeah.
That must have been a little terrifying, but yeah.
Yeah. And then once we like finish the ratings on all of the submissions and we selected the ones that we wanted to feature, all of them disappeared from the list. So when I went in to look for like things for submissions to do blog posts on, I was really surprised. I was like, where do they all go? But yeah, you just play around with the filters and they'll show up.
Yeah, and that was because I archived everything.
Yeah.
So if you filter for active submissions, we don't have any right now. Because what I do is after I send acceptances and declines, then I archive everything to make sure, kind of as a double check. But yeah, that is, if you have any questions, you can always shoot me a text or an email. And the other thing is too, that if you want to do a Zoom where we look at submissions together, if that would make you feel more comfortable, I'm always available to have us, review party with you.
Okay.
So in art, imagine that I'm just going to say we get 50 submissions in spring. We're only going to publish 5. So you're going to be saying no a lot. It may feel like you're saying no a lot, but that's the main goal, is to knock out the ones that are not going to appear in the magazine. And I vote on everything, you vote on everything, and then the art advisor will look at the ones that have yeses and maybes on them. So you'll always have somebody to talk to about the submissions if you have any questions at all. But I feel like it's pretty easy to get a feel for what the aesthetic is if you look at past issues. In those meetings, we discuss the 3 C's, and this is a good way also to structure your note when you're looking at, when you're making a note. So we talk about content, and in artwork, this is especially important because we don't want to have 5 artists who are all doing work with the same subjects, messages, and mediums. So we want to evaluate the piece for content. Do we like what we're looking at? Do we like what's there? as far as craft, this is something also that becomes very important in the art section. We do get a lot of work from hobbyists. So somebody who took up water painting and maybe sends us some of their paintings. We also sometimes get stuff from high schools, things like that. But for craft, we're really looking for, and Ashley, you were a painting and drawing major.
Yeah.
So you know the difference between a trained artist and a hobbyist. That's basically what we talk about. And then as for composition, for art especially, we're like, does it look unfinished? Does it look finished? Is it well made? Does it stand out as something that is well composed? Can, what do you want to add here about the 3 C's?
I think another thing that we looked into was the websites that,
Oh yeah.
because we do ask the artists to post their websites and their social media and things like that. So if you go into their website, you can see, their resume and, if they've been in different art exhibits and things like that, and that'll give you a good idea of, how much experience they've had.
Mhm.
Usually if they don't have a website and they only have social media, it's could be an indication that they're not very experienced yet.
Mhm.
Although, it doesn't mean that we vote no right away, because we have published an 18-year-old photographer in the past that was our cover artist, and she was really talented. So, so definitely, experience is not like the cutoff point, but it's a good indication that they don't have much experience if they don't have a website, for example.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. And I'm glad you brought that up, because another thing I'll point out is that artists are notoriously bad at curating their submissions.
Yeah.
So you get 5 pieces, and very often I'll be like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. Like, this is so all over the place. It's just hard to figure out what I'm looking at. But then we go to the website and find work that's like, bam. So
And I think this issue, we took all of our artists' work from their website. I think most of them.
I think we did. Like,
Yeah.
I think we went to the website and grabbed work. And what we do is we send an email with the work in it and say, we like this curation. Can we publish these things? And I've never had anybody say no.
Mhm.
So I feel like it would be fun to run a workshop on how to curate your submission for artists.
Yeah.
Another note, I want to talk a little bit about the social justice lens. We did a social justice issue for issue 26, and these are important concepts that I like to continue to study. And that is, we want to understand our biases that are influenced and structured by white supremacy. We want to be conscious of the submissions we're viewing and think about why we're attracted to certain things based on our own cultural biases, racial, gender, social, and geographical. I find this really fun to think about, why am I, as a cis, white, straight, 50-year-old woman, attracted to particular things, right? And then some other thoughts are, is the piece a serious investigation of, does it have a voice? Does it represent an underrepresented group?
Yeah.
And we're lucky that we do get a lot of submissions from all over the world.
Yeah, a lot of diversity. So
yeah.
And that's another good reason why the website is helpful, because sometimes you can't tell from the bio the person's identity, but sometimes their art is trying to convey a very specific message. It could be political, social message. And if you look at their website, you'll get an understanding of if this person is kind of experienced or qualified enough in that area to be speaking about those issues. So it's a good idea to look at the website for that as well.
So well said. Thank you. So we do publish a range of artists. So as Can said, I mean, one of my favorites was an 18-year-old
Yeah.
photographer. But I do look at bios in terms of emerging to established, because just as we want to publish a range of identities, we also like to publish a range of career placement or career whatever I can. And we have here a discussion of what an emerging artist is versus an emerging author. And so when you read the bios, you're going to see, for instance, people who are undergrads or graduates, or people in BFA programs or MFA programs in art. But then, and we'll call that a level 1 in terms of a scale of 1 to 10 on where somebody is in their career. And a level 10 is somebody who's like a Guggenheim Fellow or has won an NEA or who has exhibited all over the world. And we have definitely published artists who have exhibited all over. But it's not a litmus for who gets in. It's not a gatekeeping. Instead, it's more, we're open to people in all stages of their career. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you interacted with career stage?
Well, like I said before, their website or whether or not they have one would help you kind of see where they're at. So really what we focus more on is like whether they're hobbyists or like, serious artists. What level they are in their career doesn't have as much of an impact, as long as you think the work is appropriate for us.
Okay, great, thank you. We have a section on revision rounds, which doesn't apply to art. What applies to art is when we request a different curation, and that just takes place in the meeting, so you don't have to worry about doing that individually. But we do have a proofing process. And so once the web designer has built the pages, you'll get an email asking you to proofread the pages. Do you want to talk about that process briefly?
Yeah, the proofing process, what I did was read through the pages that were built by the content editor, make sure that, any the grammar, spelling errors were taken care of. I also edited some sentences for certain bios because, we have artists from all over the world. So English might not be their first language. So I just made sure that their bio was flowed a little more smoothly and clearly.
Yes.
And the other thing I did was we were missing the units of measurements for some of the pieces, because most of the artists sent in their pieces and they'll have like, it's 10 centimeters and it's this medium, but some of them forget to do it. So I think we had the content editor reach out to some of them, but I also went on their website and just did a search for myself and sent that information to the content editor coordinator. So yeah, it's just a couple of things we do during the proofing process.
Great. So next I want to talk about blog posts. So this is really an opportunity for you to get a bylined article, and you can do as many as you want. I've had past editors do 5, which is a little aggressive, but what we do is we look at some of the maybes or the grays to find work that has potential. And do you want to talk about your approach to finding artists to blog about?
Yeah, so we kind of already discussed this while we're voting and noting and during the weekly meetings with Trish and the faculty advisor. So Trish will usually also label certain ones that have a lot of blog potential, so you could also follow that. But really for me, if I'm interested in a person's artwork, if I'm curious about their process, but they're not quite right for our issue, but I still have like a personal interest in their work, then I would pick them for the blog post and I'll write questions to allow them to like talk more about their process and the particular collection that they made, things like that. And we have a section that will guide you through writing questions for blog posts too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I won't highlight this too much, but yeah, the interview route is a great route to go.
Mhm.
And obviously I'm here to help revise questions and write questions. But it's a great opportunity to get some bylines. One of the last things you'll do is write an editor's note and you'll attend the launch party. Writing the note is pretty simple because it's a straightforward formula. And I will work through it with you as many rounds as you need. And you'll practice reading it out loud, and it will be on the website, but also on, you'll read it at the launch party. So Can, do you want to talk about what it was like to compose that?
Oh, sure. The hardest part was sticking to the word limit.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's actually, I mean, the hardest person for that would probably be the poetry editor because they have a lot of submissions and
yeah,
acceptances there. But even for me, with only 5 artists, it was kind of hard to keep to the word limit. But
yeah,
what I just talked about was, what I found overall, what I discovered during my process of selecting art, um, and then each individual artist that we accepted, I kind of talked about what was compelling about each of their work. And then I gave my thanks and yeah, basically.
great. Pretty straightforward, and you're not alone.
Yeah.
I'm right here. And then the last thing you'll do is tape this lecture for the incoming art editor.
Yep.
Oh, actually, no, that's not the last thing you'll
Oh
do.
yeah, the addendum, yeah.
We have an addendum.
Just for art.
Just for art. So if we do end up soliciting artwork, we have a description of how to do that here. Can didn't end up doing that because we got amazing submissions anyway. So we'll play it by ear and see what happens. But you did design the issue cover. So tips and tricks for that.
I think the most important thing is to review the older covers to
Mm.
see, because we kind of changed up our like pattern a bit a couple issues back in regards to like where we're placing the title and things like that. And you can see we did vertical titles for a while and then like a different font for a while. So we've been using the current font for a couple issues now. So I just focused on the font and the number placement, the size, making sure it looks all clear. Um, I did my cover on Canva, but if you're whatever program you're more comfortable with, you can use.
Mhm.
And the only other thing I struggled with was the resolution. I had to like, oh, you do have to resize it to the 160 by 234 pixels, and then that might mess up the resolution. So if you could, do what you can to make it as clear as possible, that'd be great. But Trish also knows how to help you, so just reach out to her as well.
Great. Okay, I think we covered it. I'm going to end the recording.